The galaxy never truly cared about Earth. To the great civilizations that ruled the stars, humanity was just another fragile species crawling out of its cradle, loud and proud about things that meant nothing beyond its little blue world. Aliens had watched humans fight, argue, and boast. They had seen the countless wars of Earth, the endless hunger for power, and the stubborn refusal to give up. To the mighty empires of the Orion Belt and the old dynasties of Vega, humans were not warriors, not inventors, not visionaries. They were, in their words, the noisy children of a forgotten system. But legends are strange things. They spread even when no one wants them to. Traders whispered about Earth soldiers who never surrendered, about explorers who vanished into the void but sent back signals years later, still alive. A single phrase had spread through alien markets and barracks, carried like smoke in the wind: humans do not break. The galaxy laughed. On the shining world of Athari Prime, where 10 alien species met to sign treaties, a story was told in mockery. An Athari diplomat raised a glass of glowing blue liquid and said, "Have you heard of the Terran legend? They say if the stars themselves declared war, humans would still fight." The hall erupted in laughter. Their voices, high and strange, echoed across marble walls. "Fight with what?" another asked. "Rusting ships and primitive guns? Humans cannot even hold their own skies." The words spread faster than light. Everywhere in the galaxy, humans became the punchline. The Terran joke. Bars and markets filled with laughter when the tale was told. They say humanity would stand against an armada. They say humans would outlast even death. They say Earth has warriors greater than time itself. Each line ended with the same chorus, mocking laughter. Earth heard these stories too. Signals traveled both ways. Some humans grew angry. Some ignored it. But in hidden stations, in dark steel halls under the oceans, in shipyards orbiting silent moons, others did something different. They remembered. The year was 2461 when the first great insult came in person. A delegation from the Zorati Empire arrived on Earth, cloaked in shining metal robes, eyes glowing like amber. They stood in the United Terran Assembly and declared, "The galaxy has voted. Earth is to remain unarmed. Your fleets are too dangerous in your hands. Your history is too violent. You will not rise." The words cut deeper than any blade. The leaders of Earth nodded, smiled, bowed. They agreed to the treaty. They promised peace. And the galaxy laughed again. But not everyone bowed. Not everyone agreed. In the shadows of Mars, in shipyards buried beneath the red dust, a project lived. It had no name in public records. It was spoken only in whispers. A fleet was being built, piece by piece, in silence. Ships of dark metal, sharp and patient. Engines that drank starlight. Weapons that never existed on any blueprint. The galaxy watched Earth's skies and saw nothing. They laughed at humans training with old rifles, laughed at ships that could barely crawl past Jupiter. They never saw the truth growing in the dark. And yet, even within humanity, doubt lived. Many thought it was foolish. "What are we fighting for?" some asked. "Why waste resources on dreams? The galaxy is too big. We are too small." The whispers of weakness spread. Even some of those who built the hidden fleet wondered if it was only a story, only a desperate attempt to keep human pride alive. Until the day the mockery went too far. On the edge of Earth's system, near the frozen rings of Neptune, a fleet appeared. Not just scouts or traders. Warships. Massive, cold, ancient. The Krivak Dominion had grown bored of the jokes. They wanted proof. They wanted blood. Without warning, they cut down Terran outposts, burning metal and bone into the void. 1,000 lives gone in a day. Their message to the galaxy was clear: the Terran legend ends now. Earth trembled. Cities panicked. News screens flashed with terror. Humanity had no fleet. No armada. At least, none the galaxy knew of. But in the dust of Mars, Deep within silent halls, red alarms began to burn. Doors opened. Shadows moved. And for the first time, the hidden fleet stirred. A voice whispered across the comms, a voice that had waited for years in silence. The galaxy mocked us. The galaxy laughed. Now, they will see. The first ships rose from the dust like predators from the deep. Engines roared. Steel burned bright against the night. Humanity's secret was no longer a secret. The Armada was real. And the galaxy, for the first time, would not laugh. The Krivak Dominion expected no fight. To them, Earth was a child's planet, loud, proud, but weak. Their ships moved like predators through the outer system, dark towers of steel with cannons glowing red. They had crushed colonies before. They had burned whole worlds into silence. To destroy Earth would be easy, a single lesson to remind the galaxy that legends are nothing but smoke. But the galaxy had never seen what rose from Mars. From the red dust, black ships ascended. Their hulls were shaped for war, edges sharp as blades, engines humming with power stolen from stars. The Krivak ships paused when their sensors caught the movement. The Dominion commander, an old warlord with silver scars across his 4 eyes, leaned forward in disbelief. "What is this?" he growled. "These are not Terran relics. These are new." The first Terran ship opened its wings. Its name burned in white across the hull, Valiant. Behind it, others followed, each named not for fear, but for memory, defiance. Unbroken. Memory. Fireborn. Names that told stories of Earth's past. Names that whispered one truth: humans do not break. The Krivak laughed at first. To them, the ships were too few. 12 against hundreds. "Crush them," the commander ordered. "Show them what legends are worth." The battle began in silence. Then came the roar. The Terran Armada moved with precision no one expected. Their ships struck fast, weaving between the giants of the Dominion. Lasers cut like lightning, torpedoes burst like firestorms, and for every Terran ship hit, 2 Krivak ships burned. The galaxy had believed Earth weak, but these ships had been born in secret, tested in silence, perfected by desperation. Every weapon was sharper, every engine faster, every move unpredictable. The Krivak commander snarled as his fleet faltered. "Impossible. They are only humans." But the humans aboard those ships were not laughing. They were silent, steady, eyes fixed on the fight. Pilots who had trained in hidden stations. Engineers who had lived in shadows. Soldiers who carried the weight of every insult, every laugh, every time the galaxy called them weak. Now they answered in fire. Across Earth, the battle broadcasted live. Cities that had fallen into fear now stood silent, watching. Children pointed at the screens, eyes wide. Old veterans clenched their fists, tears burning in their eyes. The legend was no longer a joke. It was alive, fighting above their skies. But the Krivak Dominion was not done. Their ships were ancient monsters, heavy and cruel. Slowly, they turned their power against the Armada. One Terran ship was caught in a beam of burning plasma. Memory screamed across comms as its hull tore apart, flames consuming its crew. Another ship, Fireborn, rammed an enemy cruiser in its final act, detonating in a blaze that shattered steel and sent both vessels to their graves. The price of defiance was blood. Humanity knew it. And still, the Armada fought on. On the bridge of the Valiant, Commander Eric Hale stood tall. His voice was calm, steady, a rock against the storm. "They think we are weak," he said into the comms. "They think we are small. Let them see. Let them remember this day." His crew answered with fire. The Krivak ships faltered. For the first time in centuries, their warlords knew fear. Their commander growled, but his voice shook. "Fall back. This fight is not worth the blood." The order spread across their fleet. One by one, the Krivak ships turned, engines burning as they fled into the dark. The Terran Armada did not chase. They stood silent in the void, battered and scarred, but alive. Out of a dozen, 7 ships still burned strong. Their crews stared into the stars, hearts pounding, minds unable to believe what they had just done. Earth erupted in thunder. Cities shouted, screamed, cried. The legend was no longer a whisper. It was truth. The galaxy had laughed. But now the galaxy would listen. Yet deep in the stars, far beyond the Krivak dominion, others had seen. Other empires, other dynasties. They watched the Terran Armada rise from dust, watched the impossible victory. And where the Krivak had known laughter, the others felt something colder. Not amusement. Not scorn. But fear. Because if humanity could build such power in secret, what else could they be hiding? And somewhere, in the heart of the Armada, Commander Hale whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning." The galaxy could not stay silent. News of the battle near Neptune spread faster than light. No one could stop it. Every trader ship, every spy satellite, every open channel carried the same shocking truth. Humanity had fought the Krivak dominion, and won. At first, many refused to believe it. "Impossible," they said in the shining courts of the Athari. "Lies," hissed the ministers of Vega. "A human trick," muttered the old dynasties of Orion. But the images were real. The burned wrecks of Krivak warships floated in the Terran system. The footage of black Terran ships cutting through the Dominion's fleet could not be denied. The laughter was gone. Now came whispers of fear. In the great council halls of the galaxy, voices argued. The Athari wanted sanctions. The Vega wanted spies. The Krivak, shamed and furious, demanded war. And somewhere deep in the shadows, hidden eyes studied every image of the Terran Armada. "How?" they whispered. "How did Earth build such power without us seeing?" But while the galaxy argued, Earth celebrated. On every street, on every screen, the Armada's victory shone bright. Children painted the names of ships on walls. Old veterans saluted the sky. For the first time in centuries, Earth was united not in fear, not in sorrow, but in pride. The legend was real, and humanity had proved it with fire and steel. Yet even in victory, the Armada knew the truth. The Krivak dominion had not been destroyed. They had only retreated. And when an empire retreats, it does not forget. Commander Eric Hale stood on the bridge of the Valiant, staring into the dark beyond Neptune. His ship bore scars, its hull torn, its crew weary. Around him, the surviving Armada floated, 7 ships, proud but battered. "This fight is not over," he said quietly. "The galaxy does not forgive. They will come again, stronger." His second officer, a young woman named Celine Ward, nodded. "Then we will be ready." But were they truly ready? That was the question burning in every captain's mind. The Armada had been built in secret, piece by piece, in hidden shipyards. The resources were nearly gone. The weapons, though powerful, could not last forever. If the galaxy came in full force, humanity would be outnumbered 1,000 to 1. And yet, there was something the galaxy did not understand. Humanity had always been outnumbered. Across history, from the ancient wars of Earth to the battles in space, humans had never been the strongest, never the fastest, never the most powerful. But they were stubborn. They adapted. They endured. And now, with the galaxy's eyes upon them, that stubbornness burned brighter than ever. In the weeks after the battle, the Armada began to grow. New volunteers came from every corner of Earth and its colonies. Engineers worked day and night, patching ships, building weapons, dreaming of stronger engines. On the cold surface of Titan, hidden factories awoke, producing ships no alien had ever seen. The Armada was no longer just a secret project. It was the heart of humanity's defiance. But not all humans agreed. In the grand halls of the United Terran Assembly, leaders argued. Some called for peace. "We have shown our strength," they said. "Let the galaxy see we are not weak, but let us not provoke them." Others demanded war. "Strike now, while the legend is strong. Show them humanity bows to no one." The assembly fractured, voices rising, anger growing. And in the shadows, whispers of betrayal began. There were humans who feared the Armada more than they feared the aliens. Humans who thought Commander Hale dangerous. Humans who wondered if the legend was worth the cost. Hale knew it. He saw it in the eyes of politicians who smiled too quickly, who shook hands too tightly. Earth was not as united as it seemed. Victory had brought pride, yes, but also fear. And in the dark reaches of the galaxy, the Krivak Dominion plotted revenge. Their warlord, scarred and furious, stood before his broken fleet. His voice was low and venomous. The Terrans have made us a joke. The galaxy laughs at us now. I will not forgive. I will not rest. We will return, not with a fleet, but with an army. The Krivak began to gather allies. Old enemies of Earth. Traitors who hated Terran stubbornness. Empires that feared the rise of a new power. Piece by piece, a greater storm formed, one that made the battle near Neptune look like a spark before a wildfire. Back on Earth, Hale stood in silence, staring at the stars. He could feel it, like a shadow pressing against the void. The galaxy would not leave humanity alone now. They would come in force. He whispered only 3 words to himself, words carried by every captain, every pilot, every soldier of the Armada. Let them come. The legend of humanity had spread far, but legends did not unite the galaxy, they divided it. In the halls of the United Terran Assembly, the air grew heavy with arguments. Leaders from Earth's nations and colonies shouted across long tables, their voices sharp, their faces pale with fear. Some wanted to expand the Armada, to prepare for the storm that was surely coming. Others wanted to shut it down before the galaxy crushed them all. One elder statesman slammed his hand on the table. We cannot fight the galaxy. Do you fools not see? They will come with hundreds of fleets, thousands of ships. We will burn. A younger voice rose in answer. Better to burn fighting than to kneel as slaves. The chamber erupted in chaos. Behind closed doors, secret messages moved faster than light. Some assembly members whispered with alien envoys, promising to weaken the Armada from within if it kept Earth safe. Others reached out to distant colonies, asking for hidden resources and weapons. The assembly was no longer one voice, it was many voices, pulling in different directions. And while the politicians fought, Commander Eric Hale prepared for war. On the bridge of the Valiant, he studied reports from across the system. Titan's factories were producing weapons, but too slowly. Luna's shipyards were pushing out small corvettes, but they were fragile against galactic cruisers. Mars was silent, building something so secret even Hale did not yet know the full design. His officers watched him closely. Some believed in him without question. Others feared his determination. Celine Ward, his second officer, finally spoke what many thought. Commander, they may fear you as much as they fear the aliens. Hale's eyes stayed on the stars. Good. Fear makes people act. Fear makes them remember. But Hale knew something darker. Humanity's greatest danger was not always alien fleets. It was human weakness. That weakness appeared one night in the cold silence of orbit. The ship Defiance, one of the 7 survivors of Neptune, suddenly went dark. Its signals vanished. The Armada rushed to respond, but by the time patrols reached its position, the ship was gone. Not destroyed. Not broken. Simply gone, its crew silent, its engines cold. At first, panic spread. Some said it was sabotage by the Krivak. Others whispered of spies inside the Armada. But Hale knew better. He found the message carved into the hull of the abandoned Defiance, a single line written in human letters. You cannot fight the galaxy. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound. Word spread quickly. The galaxy heard of it too. Alien diplomats smirked in their marble halls. See. Even humans know their legend is only fire and smoke. The Krivak laughed openly, though their fleets were already building for war. The Armada stood shaken. If humans turned on humans, how could they survive the storm to come? Yet even as doubt grew, so did something else. Resolve. The crew of the Valiant worked harder. The engineers of Titan doubled their pace. Colonies once silent began sending old war relics, scavenged weapons, and volunteers. They knew what betrayal meant. It meant the galaxy would press harder. It meant the legend was not enough. It meant survival demanded sacrifice. Hale gathered his captains in a secure chamber aboard the Valiant. The room was silent, filled with men and women who had bled at Neptune. They were tired, scarred, but unbroken. Hale looked at each of them and spoke in a low voice. The galaxy believes we are only legend. Our own people whisper against us. The Krivak gather allies. The storm is coming. But I say this, let them come. Let them bring their fleets. Let them test our strength. For every Terran who falls, 10 will rise. For every ship they burn, we will build 2. Humanity does not break. Humanity endures. No one cheered. No one clapped. But in that silence, the captains felt it, the truth of the words. Outside, the galaxy moved quickly. The Krivak Dominion sent envoys to old enemies of Earth, promising riches and power if they joined the war. The Athari debated sanctions. The Vega discussed blockades. Across a dozen star systems, fleets began to shift, gathering like storm clouds at the edge of sight. And in the shadows, the betrayers of humanity sent another message, not to Hale, but to the galaxy itself. We will deliver the Armada into your hands. The trap was being set. And deep in the void, Commander Hale stared at the stars and whispered, "The galaxy thinks it knows us. It doesn't. Not yet." The storm finally came. For weeks, the galaxy had debated, whispered, and plotted. Then at last, the decision was made, not in Earth's favor, not for peace, but for war. The Krivak Dominion, humiliated at Neptune, had gathered their allies. The proud Vega dynasties lent ships, eager to prove their strength. Even the cautious Athari sent fleets, unwilling to let humanity's legend grow unchecked. Dozens of species, united by fear and scorn, prepared their armadas. And when they moved, the sky itself seemed to darken. The first Terran scouts saw them near Pluto's orbit, vast shadows against the stars, warships too many to count. Some were old and scarred, others sleek and new, but together they formed a force unlike anything humanity had ever faced. Hundreds of fleets. Thousands of ships. A wall of fire and steel advancing toward the cradle of Earth. When the reports reached the United Terran Assembly, the chamber fell silent. For once, there were no arguments, no shouting voices. The truth was too heavy. Earth stood on the edge of extinction. On the Valiant, Commander Eric Hale read the numbers in silence. His officers waited, their faces pale. Celine Ward finally spoke. "We cannot fight them all. Even with every ship, every weapon, we are too few." Hale did not answer at once. He walked to the viewport, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the greatest armada in galactic history was coming for them. He remembered every insult, every laugh, every time the galaxy had mocked humanity's name. Then he turned to his crew. His voice was calm, steady, unshaken. "Too few, perhaps. But the galaxy has always counted us wrong. They count ships. They count guns. They do not count will." The words spread through the armada like fire. Crews who had been weary found strength. Engineers who thought of failure returned to their work. Soldiers sharpened their blades and checked their rifles. They knew what was coming. They knew the odds. And still, they chose to fight. Across Earth, cities braced for war. Old bunkers were reopened. Colonies prepared for evacuation. Families said their goodbyes with trembling voices. But in the streets, people carried banners with names of ships: Valiant, Defiance, Unbroken. The legend was no longer a joke. It was the last hope of a world. Then, the betrayal struck. As the Armada formed near Mars, preparing for the coming battle, 3 ships broke formation. They were Terran ships, new corvettes built on Luna. Without warning, they turned their weapons on the fleet. Laser fire ripped across the void, catching the ship Resolve off guard. The traitors struck quick, burning allies before racing toward the approaching Galactic Armada. On the bridge of the Valiant, alarms screamed. Hale's face turned to stone. "They are running to the enemy," Celine said, her voice sharp with rage. "Let them run," Hale answered coldly. "They think betrayal will save them. It will not." The traitors carried secrets, codes, maps, knowledge of the Armada's strength. If those reached the galactic fleets, humanity's defenses would be shattered before the first shot. But Hale had expected betrayal. He had planned for it. The unbroken, fastest of the surviving ships, broke from the Armada and pursued the defectors. Its captain, an old veteran named Jiro Tanaka, spoke his final words across the comms. "For Earth. For the legend." Then the unbroken vanished into the dark, engines blazing like fire, chasing the traitors with no promise of return. Silence filled the Armada after his message. They all knew what it meant. Some ships were not coming back. Some would be sacrificed before the battle even began. And still, the galaxy came closer. From Neptune's edge, the first enemy signals arrived. Dozens of fleets, ships stretching farther than sensors could measure. The Krivak commander, still scarred from Neptune, broadcast his voice across the stars. His words were cruel, sharp, filled with venom. "Terrans, no more jokes. No more legends. Today, your world ends." The Armada stood silent. Then Hale answered, his voice echoing across every Terran ship, every human colony, every screen on Earth. "You mocked us. You called us weak. You called us children. You will remember us today, not as a joke, but as fire in the dark. We do not kneel. We do not break. We are humanity." The fleets moved. Engines burned. Weapons armed. The greatest battle the galaxy had ever seen was about to begin. And deep in the heart of the Valiant, Hale whispered to himself, "Let them come." The void above Neptune erupted with fire. The galactic fleets advanced in endless lines, warships stretching across the stars like a wall of steel. The Krivak Dominion led the charge, their ships massive, their cannons glowing red. Behind them, Vega cruisers glided in perfect formation, cold and elegant. Ithari vessels shimmered with strange light, their weapons bending space itself. And mixed among them were mercenaries, raiders, and opportunists, everyone who wanted a piece of Earth's destruction. Against them stood the Terran Armada. 7 veteran ships, scarred from Neptune. Dozens of new corvettes, barely tested. A handful of cruisers from Luna and Titan. Small against the storm, fragile against the wall. Yet they did not retreat. They formed tight lines near Mars, waiting, engines burning like coals ready to ignite. The Krivak commander snarled from his throne of steel. "Break them. Tear their ships apart. Burn their world." The galaxy moved forward. The first strike came swift and brutal. Plasma beams cut across the void, smashing into Terran lines. Explosions lit the dark as smaller ships burst into flames. Earth's defenders shook but did not scatter. From the Valiant, Commander Eric Hale gave a single order. "Return fire." The Armada answered with fury. Missiles streaked through space, torpedoes slammed into enemy hulls, railguns thundered. One Vega cruiser vanished in a ball of fire. A Krivak destroyer split apart, its crew torn into the void. The galaxy had expected humans to crumble. Instead, they fought like wolves, tearing at giants with every weapon they had. But the numbers were merciless. Wave after wave crashed against the Armada. Corvettes died by the dozens, swallowed by beams and explosions. The ship Resolve, still scarred from betrayal, was ripped apart in seconds. Yet even as ships burned, they fought on. Every Terran death took an enemy with it. On the bridge of the Valiant, alarms blared, lights flickered. Celine Ward shouted over the chaos. "Shields at 20%. Hull breaches on decks 2 through 5. Hale stood calm, his eyes fixed on the stars. "Hold the line. Every second we fight is another second Earth breathes. The Armada obeyed. Far from Mars, Captain Jiro Tanaka and the Unbroken chased the traitor ships through the void. The defectors broadcast codes and data to the galactic fleets, but Tanaka cut them off, striking again and again. His ship burned, his crew fell, but he did not stop. His final message reached the Valiant just before his ship vanished in flame. The traitors are silenced. The Armada stands free. For a moment, hope returned. Then the second wave came. The Athari unleashed their secret weapons, beams that twisted gravity itself. Whole Terran ships bent and snapped like paper, their crews crushed in silence. The Vega dynasties cut through the lines with precision, their cruisers firing in perfect rhythm. The Krivak roared, their warships spewing fire. One by one, Terran ships fell. On Earth, billions watched the battle through trembling screens. Cities that had once cheered now grew silent. Families clutched each other as the Armada burned. Children asked questions no one could answer. Will we live? Will they reach us? But not all hope was gone. From the dust of Mars, something stirred. The secret project, hidden even from Hale, finally awoke. A new class of ships, larger than anything Earth had built before, rose from underground bays. Their hulls were black as night, their weapons glowing with power unknown to the galaxy. The project had a name whispered only in shadows: the Titans. 3 massive ships roared into the void, joining the Armada at its darkest hour. Their guns thundered, their shields burned bright. A single Titan ripped through 5 Vega cruisers in one volley. Another shattered a Krivak battleship with a spear of light. The galaxy stopped laughing. The Armada, though broken, surged with new strength. Together with the Titans, they cut into the enemy lines, tearing holes, forcing giants to fall back. For the first time, the united galactic fleet felt fear. But fear did not stop them. The Krivak commander screamed his order. "Push harder. They cannot stop us all." And he was right. For every enemy ship destroyed, 10 more pressed forward. The Armada fought with fire and fury, but their shields cracked, their hulls split. Even the Titans shook under the endless storm. The battle raged for hours, then days. No side relented. The void near Mars became a graveyard of steel, burning wrecks drifting silently through the dark. The legend of humanity was no longer a whisper. It was carved into the stars with blood. And on the bridge of the Valiant, Hale stood unbroken. His voice carried across every surviving Terran ship. They thought we were weak. They thought we would bow. Let them see. Let them remember. Humanity does not break. The battle was not yet over. Victory was not certain. But one truth had already been written in fire. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity stood. The battle near Mars became a storm without end. Wreckage drifted through the void, silent tombs of steel. Fires burned across the darkness, the light of dying ships flickering like falling stars. The Terran Armada, battered and broken, fought on with stubborn fury. The galaxy's fleets pressed harder, endless in number, certain of their victory. But the galaxy had made a mistake. They believed humanity fought for power. They believed humans fought for conquest. They were wrong. Humanity fought for survival, and survival gave them strength no number could measure. The 3 Titans tore into the enemy lines, weapons burning brighter than suns. The Valiant led the charge, its engines screaming, its hull scarred but unbroken. Hale's voice carried across every surviving ship, calm and steady even as the void turned red with fire. "We are humanity," he said. "We do not kneel. We do not break. Fight with me. Fight to the last star." The Armada roared. Terran ships struck like wolves, diving into fleets far larger than themselves. Corvettes rammed enemy cruisers, detonating in blinding fire. Old frigates tore through battleships with desperate fury. Every ship, every crew, became a weapon. The galaxy expected fear. Instead, they faced defiance. Still, the cost was unbearable. One Titan fell, its engines crippled, its hull shattered by a dozen enemy cannons. It exploded in silence, the shockwave tearing apart friend and foe alike. Another Titan burned, drifting powerless into the void. Humanity bled with every minute. And yet, the legend grew stronger. On Earth, billions watched. In colonies on Luna, Titan, and Mars, families pressed together, refusing to turn away from the burning sky. Across the galaxy, spies sent messages back to their empires: the Terrans do not surrender. Soldiers on alien ships trembled as they watched humans throw themselves into hopeless battles with fire in their eyes. The Krivak commander, furious and desperate, screamed across his fleet, "They are only human. Break them." But deep inside, even he felt something cold. Something he had never felt in centuries of war. Not scorn. Not pride. But fear. The battle reached its final hour. The Armada was nearly gone. Only fragments remained: burned corvettes, broken cruisers, the wounded Valiant, and a single Titan, its guns still burning hot. The galaxy still had hundreds of ships. The end seemed certain. Then Commander Hale made his choice. On the bridge of the Valiant, smoke filled the air, sparks rained from broken panels. Celine Ward turned to him, her voice raw. "We cannot hold. Not another wave." Hale's eyes were steady. He knew she was right. Humanity could not win by fighting forever. But humanity could win another way. "They mocked us," he said softly. "They called us weak. They thought we would break. Let us show them what breaking means." He opened a final channel to the Titan. Its captain, an old engineer named Marcus Ray, appeared on the screen. His face was calm, almost peaceful. Hale spoke 4 words. "It's time. Burn everything." Ray nodded once. No arguments. No fear. Just understanding. The Titan's engines roared brighter than a sun. Its core, built in silence under Mars, was more than a power source. It was a weapon. Not designed to conquer. Not designed to rule. But to be unleashed only when humanity had no other choice. The Titan surged forward into the heart of the galactic fleets. Enemy ships turned their guns, desperate to stop it. Plasma beams tore across its hull, missiles shattered its armor, but still it moved. Still it burned. On Earth, billions watched in silence as the Titan vanished into the wall of enemy fire. And then the stars lit up. The Titan detonated with the force of a dying sun. The explosion tore through the void, ripping enemy fleets apart in an endless wave of fire. Krivak warships shattered. Vega cruisers vanished in white light. Ithari vessels were consumed. Hundreds of ships gone in a single blaze. The shockwave spread, scattering the survivors, forcing the once proud Galactic Armada to break and flee. Silence followed. The Valiant, crippled but alive, drifted through the wreckage. Its crew stared at the burning void in awe and sorrow. The Armada was nearly gone. But Earth still lived. On the surface of Earth, cheers erupted. Cities roared with voices, not of fear, but of pride. The legend was no longer a whisper in alien markets. It was no longer a joke. It was truth, carved into the stars. The galaxy had mocked humanity. The galaxy had doubted. The galaxy had tried to erase them. And humanity had answered, not with surrender, not with silence, but with fire. The Krivak Dominion would rebuild. The Vega dynasties would plot again. The Ithari would whisper in their marble halls. But none of them would ever laugh at Earth again. Because now the galaxy knew. Humans did not kneel. Humans did not break. Humans endured. And the legend of the Terran Armada would burn in the stars forever.